Alright, hello there YouTube, it is I'm here with an educational PowerPoint, a one-take video on how to deal with fear. Hades 2's Testament of Night. Do this all in one go. I hate editing. Get to the video. First of all, what's fear? East. I'm new to this game. I haven't even won a run of Hades 2 yet. Leave. Video is not for you. Spoiling yourself. This is spoilers. Don't watch. Out of the way. Let's get into the heart of it. Okay, I want to run East now. What? So, Testament of Night, the Oath of the Unseen, set of an optional difficulty modifiers that are meant to make runs harder, more challenging. Use them to unlock Nightmare, means to upgrade your weapons and weapon aspects. In order to unlock the statues from Skelemius, you must win a run at 8, 16, and 30 fear. We're going to be talking a little bit about different elements of fear that you'll need for getting eventually to 32. I believe Nightmare caps out at 20 to 24 right now, depending on the weapon. This is for early access patch 0.92. So, this is the board. In the game, you interact with this thing over here. You go talk to it. And it will show something like this. This is all the testaments completed. Do the bounties to get nightmares. Nightmares to increase your aspects. And then you clear these numbers to unlock the statues. It's all pretty straightforward. You can see from the arrows all the different vows of the Oath of the Unseen are there. So, doing testaments. You can see I got this very blurry screenshot here. Also got all the other elements here. The weapon that you use. Fun fact, I actually almost recorded this video with this being the wrong weapon. Take a Scuffed. The selected fear matches the number in the box, and then the portrait matches the guardian you need to beat. Pretty straightforward. You don't have to win the run if you beat the guardian and get the nightmare. Unless, of course, the guardian is at the end of your run. Now, let's talk about the vows. Look at these screenshots. Beautiful stuff we've got going on here. Look at the corners. All right. There are, I believe, I don't actually remember. Yeah, there are 16 different vows you can select. Each of them give you numbers of fear. If you can tell which of the vows is missing in this image, get in the comments and tell me which one it is. At least one. Okay, I've broken the vows up into different pairs. This is mostly just to make it easier to explain them. In pink, in brackets, is how much fear each vow is worth. Then there's, of course, on screen a brief description of what all the different vows do. So, let's talk about the damage vows first. So there's Vow of Blood. Vow of Blood makes enemies deal 20 to 60 to 100% more damage for 1, 3, and 5 total fear. And Vow of Suffering makes it so the first time that you get hit, you take 100% more damage and then 300% more damage. And in total, that's worth 2 and then 4 total fear. The damage vows are probably the most overused vows for people trying to climb testaments and get to 32. I consider both of these extremely dangerous. In certain builds, even at 32 fear, I run 32 fear consistently. I win streak at it, do rotating volume challenges at it. Many builds I do not max out Vow of Blood at, even at 32 fear. Enemies dealing more damage in this game is uniquely challenging, I think, compared to Hades 1, because you only have one dash. You can play more defensively, and you have some decent defensive options, but it's by no means an easy one to take. Vow of Suffering has a specific counter that's currently in the game. If you take the Hephaestus Boon Trusty Shield, you can pretty much mitigate the effect of Vow of Suffering completely. So if you're planning to take a build that uses Hephaestus for your run, you might want to use Vow of Suffering and hard roll for Trusty Shield. Otherwise, this is a very dangerous vow. I obviously don't recommend taking these two together. And, of course, want to push extremely high fear, get up into the 40s, or even get up to 50. But these would be some of the first ones I'd cut when decreasing the number of fear. The bulk vows, dominance and rebuke. Dominance makes enemies have 10 to 20 to 30% more health, worth 3 total fear, and rebuke foes have 1 to 2 shields that absorb an instance of damage, worth 2 total fear. I personally almost always take dominance over rebuke. The argument to take rebuke instead of dominance would be that the boss fights get a little bit easier, but I generally find that for regular enemies like mobs, regular rooms, having your foes have 2 shields that absorb instances of damage actually increases their overall HP percentage by much, much more than Vow of Dominance does. So my go-to when I want to increase enemy bulk is to take Vow of Dominance. Obviously, if you were trying to speed run at a high fear, you don't really want to take either of these. It's kind of a bad idea. But you know, dominance is by no means that strong. I particularly like taking Vow of Dominance on the Umbral Flames, or any build that just deals a lot of high damage. You normally get through 30% health pretty quickly. But low damage builds on a timer, obviously don't want to be taking Dominance or... I called these the amp vows. These are vows that sort of amp up the quality of the enemies that you're playing against. Some of these are a bit of a stretch, obviously. Vow of Fury, foes and projectiles are 20 to 40% faster. This is worth 6 total fear. And Vow of Wandering, foes have a 10 and then 25% chance to be from the next region if possible. That's worth 3 total fear. I pretty much consider these mandatory on my 32 fear runs. However, if you're just trying to beat 32 once to get your Skelemia statue, get this over with, and never play this difficult of a run of Hades 2 again, Fury may not be for you. It takes some getting used to enemies being 40% faster. On the other hand, if you're just trying to high jump and like hit 32 once, you might as well just take maxed out Vow of Fury and just hope for that like high roll, sick nasty god build that just crushes everything no matter how fast it is. And do that, because 6 fear is so much. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is tied for the most fear you can get from any individual vow, with Vow Desperation. Wandering also, again, just kind of takes some getting used to. The main thing you kind of have to cope with Wandering is dealing with the Hippo and Lurker enemies, which have really, really high HP pools appearing in Erebus when you don't have enough damage to easily deal with them. And that's just something that you kind of get used to over time. Get used to taking more vows, taking more boons from Olympians that increase your damage early on. They're on well items that increase your damage early on. Just sort of get through these things a little bit faster. The Clutter vows. Commotion and Haunting. I call these the Clutter vows because they make more stuff appear on your screen. Aren't I smart? Vow of Commotion. 20 to 40 to 60% more foes, worth up to 3 fear. And then Haunting. Most foes have a 25 and then 50% chance. A Revenant. Revenants will fully respawn if not picked up in 5 seconds. So, both of these are very dangerous vows to take, and I find that these are playstyle and build dependent. I am not very good at picking up Revenants, so I generally stay away from Vow of Haunting at 32 as much as possible. It's just something that I haven't trained my brain to do, so it is really hard for me to do. On the other hand, on a lot of different weapons like the axe, the skulls, even the staff, and especially the flames, the Millennium flames, I love taking more enemies with Vow of Commotion because I have such efficient, high damage, run around, kill everything builds. That Vow of Commotion is actually very exciting to me. Vow of Haunting means I have to move that damage away from the enemies to go pick up the skulls. There's definitely, if you are more used to that sort of playstyle, I think Haunting could be really successful for you. I'll call these next ones the mana vows. So these are vows that affect how your mana pool works. Vow of Arrogance. When you choose a boon with higher rarity than common, you prime 5 and then 10 mana for every rarity level above common. So rare primes 10, epic primes 20, and I believe heroic duo and legendary all prime 30. And then Vow of Panic, you start each location with 0% mana. Panic is highly build specific. There are some builds that use basic attacks and specials. They take the Huntress Arcana. They don't use their Omega moves pretty much at all. Vow of Panic is free fear for those builds. In fact, it's useful fear because it turns Huntress on right away. Otherwise, it's like really bad and you probably shouldn't take it unless you are rushing Hera to get Born Gain or some other really effective gain to counteract that. Vow of Arrogance, I find, is almost like you almost have to take it if you're doing high fear. 4 is a big number for fear. And you kind of just have to play around it, so don't take too many epics and rares. The Excellence and Divinity Arcana I almost never take with me at 32 fear, and Arrogance is the reason. It's worth so much fear. Just play around it and take common boons more often. It's gonna be pretty worth it for you. I think there's currently a bug where if you use a Palm of Power on something that has primed your mana, it will unprime the mana. But I can't confirm that that consistently works, so don't worry about it. I call these ones the Inflation Vows because they make your HP regeneration and gold worth less over time. First one, Vow of Destitution, makes items cost 40 and then 80% more gold. Scars makes healing give you 75, 50, and then 0% of the stated value. Sometimes the stated value will scale and will show you that it's not giving you anything at all. But some boons don't do this. Like Chaos boons, for example, don't show that the reduced healing due to scars. Destitution, I almost take pretty much every time on 32. It's a pretty common early one. If you take the Boatman Arcana, you're guaranteed to have enough for a boon from the Charon shop, regardless of whether or not you have Destitution maxed or not. So I usually max out Destitution and take Boatman on pretty much every 32 fear run. And for Scars, I almost always leave Scars on it too, although personally I'm getting a little more inclined towards going for something a little more that maybe you're going to be trying to run Scars 3 more often. It gives you a lot of fear and don't get hit. And max HP, HP gained from Momus, Centaur Hearts. Well, I guess Momus, this was changed, so this is not as correct as of the current patch. Centaur Hearts and Grave Pin, Death Defiance, that stuff still gives you health, regardless of scars. Yeah. The Boon Vows. Vow of Forsaking, when you choose a boon, boons you don't choose don't appear again. This is one of my favorite ones. As long as you keep track of the boons that you've discarded, in 85% of cases this is just a player buff. Use a pen and pencil, use Nap, use something to keep track of it. Pretty easy once you do that. It just no longer guarantees legendary and duo boons. That's a bit of a nerf. Vow of Bitterness. The first boon of each region becomes an onion instead. A lot of this is build and player dependent. Again, I personally despise Bitterness. I don't take it on anything. I think 3 Fear is really nice. I think this, but compared to Hades 1, Hades 2 is much more difficult early on in the game. So losing a boon early on due to Bitterness is like really hard to deal with. And then I called these the other vows. These are just the 2 that are left. Desperation is a 9, 7, and 5 minute timer for region. No, my music cut out. Scuffed. We'll just finish it up. 9, 7, 5 minutes. I run Desperation pretty much on every weapon, either 7 or 5 minute timer. Basically, you have to make fast decisions instead of playing necessarily fast. You can play faster, but a lot of times this is just something like taking a Charon shop over a encounter, even if you don't have enough money for a boon, taking Chaos really, really often, taking Narcissus Echo and Arachne whenever they're offered to you, not chasing the side rooms on in Tartarus, like lots of ways you can speed up your decision making. Sorry, make decisions that save you time instead of um, doing things that make you go slower. And then finally, Vow of Abandon. Your Arcana cards don't work. I basically never run this. 5 years a lot, but I actually just think it's like not fun, and I don't really think at high fear it's a good idea to run. Your Arcana is so important to how your character works. No good. I think this is the last slide, so let's talk about Core Fear. Wait, no, there's one more, right? Yeah, there is. Okay. Core Fear. So, personally, I do runs of 32. Rotating, this is the 22 that I take on pretty much every run. It's Fury 2, Wandering 2, Scars 2, Destitution 2, Foul Forsaking, Desperation 2, and Arrogance 2. You can, for example, take away Fury 2, and that'll get you down to 16 fear if you are looking to do one step of the statues or those testaments. But I do believe that Wandering, Scars 2, Destitution, Forsaking, Arrogance, and Desperation 2 are completely free. Not completely free, but like the easiest ones to get used to and play around. And then it sort of depends on the weapon and the build you're going for. Like if you're going for a build that deals a lot of damage from really far away, you can get 5 fear from using Vow of Panic. And that'll boost you up. For example, this one gets boosted up to 27 by that. And then you could go for like another level of Scars. Now you're at 29. And then like, a level of Commotion, Dominance, and like Haunting or whatever. And boom, you're at 32. And you can go from there. Or, turning up these 3 in combination, some way to get you there. That's usually what I do. I think this is a really good starting sort of fear for 16. If you're going lower than that, if you're just starting with like, I just want to do 4, like Forsaking is a really good early one to do. So is Arrogance. I think Forsaking and Arrogance would be the first ones I would turn on. Or if you really want to push high fear and start getting into doing that, maxing Fury as soon as possible and just getting used to it makes a lot of sense. The only thing I would particularly stay away from is Abandon, and also like stacking Blood and Suffering together. I'm not a big fan of that. Anyways, that's it. Sorry for the bit of scuff here. We're doing just the one taker and the sound cut out. I need to make sure the sound's longer, but yeah, that's the end of the video. If you liked it, like and subscribe. Catch me on Twitch. I do volume challenges, rotating 32 fear runs, and also obviously this YouTube channel where you're watching right now. But yeah, that's it. Take care and see you next video.